Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us for this broadcast. I'm Pastor Steve Green, and our title is Restore Such a One in the Spirit of Meekness. This is refresh number 2 for this week. Today is Thursday, July 30th. Boundaries, as you know, is about comparing relationships to adjacent property owners. It is about knowing what's yours and what isn't. It's about focusing on your own responsibility. It's about believing the gospel, that if you simply do what Jesus has asked you to do, if you follow Him, then His blessing will be operating in you. It is not about controlling or blaming other people or being controlled or blamed by them. It's about having the courage to follow Jesus and focus on His instructions to you. These things are excellent to practice every day in our family life, at work, with friends. Whatever circumstance we find ourselves in where we're in some form of relationship with other people, there's always opportunities to be practicing boundaries. And as we reminded ourselves yesterday, spiritual maturity is about exactly the same thing. To be aware of boundaries, practicing boundaries in relationships, to be developing spiritually, they are the same thing. In Matthew 5 verses 38 to 41, Jesus said this. We've read this passage quite a few times recently. Let's read it again. At verse 38, "You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I tell you not to resist an evil person." So spiritual maturity or boundaries is going to be about not focusing on what the other person is doing wrong. It's good to be aware of what's happening. If somebody's doing something that's right, to be aware of it. If somebody's doing something that's wrong, to be aware of it. But that is not our first or our primary focus. Naturally speaking, offenses by other people do become our primary focus. But again, spiritual maturity takes us to a higher level. Jesus says not to resist an evil person, but whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn to him, turn the other to him also. If anyone wants to sue you and take away your tunic, let him have your cloak also. And whoever compels you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. And we've discussed this in some detail. This is not talking about major life issues. It's talking about things that are not going to alter the course of your life, but they certainly can get under your skin, or they certainly can get under my skin. And so it becomes a good test of our focus on what God is asking me to do. What the other person is doing is not near as important as what my responsibility is. And then Jesus says in the last verse of that chapter, Matthew 5:48, "Therefore you shall be perfect," or "Therefore you shall be," Greek word teleos, or "Therefore you shall be mature." That word is also translated mature, just as your Father in heaven is perfect. And so that's our goal. It's to become like Him, to become like Jesus, to fulfill our earthly destiny, to do what God has called us to do. And as we mentioned, it takes courage to do it. It takes focus to do it. It means that we put our responsibility ahead of other people's responsibilities. It's the willingness to embark on a life that is unfair. We're no longer advocating for fairness. We're advocating for maturity. And that's a far higher and better thing to advocate for. We're not here to try to make everybody else behave in a fair manner. We're not the referee. We're willing to let God be the referee. All right. Thank you for joining us today. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.